Okay. I'll talk to you later. All right. And Avery, who is next today?
Next, we have Rachel from Philly. Rachel from Philly.
Well, good afternoon,
Rachel.
Steve. How you doing? Thank you so much for taking my call. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank God. Yeah, I'm really, really good.
Of course.
Good. So it was so nice hearing Elise just sharing about all the work she's doing on behalf of cannabis, and it got me thinking. Actually, I already wanted to mention one of the thoughts I've had listening to you is I love hearing women calling, and I know she wasn't a caller, but one thing is I just wanted to get through and just say that I love hearing everybody's questions and stories and anecdotes, and just to keep encouraging the sisters to call in, because sometimes women get a little discouraged or whatever. So so to any sister out there, I say, call Big Steve. He wants to hear from you. Then the other thing I wanted to...
Thank you so much for saying that, Rachel.
You're
because
welcome.
It can get, the Grateful Dead scene can get, we started in the 60s, and so we were a little bit male dominated, but we had so many great women that worked for the band. All the girls at the office, there's so many wonderful people. Annette and Bonnie Parker and Gail Helen and oh God, now I got to say them all.
Rosie McGee, right?
Janet. Rosie McGee was around and still is, and that was the way we got down the road, man. Truck driving Sherry, there was always a female energy in our world, and we are made up of that. We are all made up of male and female, And so I love you saying that. That is so cool.
Thank you.
And when I have people like Elise on and Bill call in, and they're very intelligent, exactly. So you keep working on that, and
thank you. One other thing, if you had a second, what'd you say?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, I have a second for you. Of course.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your radio waves here. So when I hear your voice, and you're alive, you are breathing, you're here, you're on this earth, we can speak to you, and this is actually a real privilege. So we're going to hear this recording of your voice, and we're going to remember that voice of Big Steve. But I hear a recording of Jerry, and it connects me to, we all listen to Jerry's voice, we hear his singing. Even Bill Graham, when he's offering up breakfast or introducing, the New Year's show at the Fillmore West. And so it connects me to this concept of, it's called the endless infinite light. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts about that. It's actually a concept from the Kabbalah, that a person is connected to the endless infinite light, and through voices we connect.
Exactly. And that was a well entrenched thing into our world in the Grateful Dead. Because we used to even argue about it sometimes. Let there be light. But in the beginning, there was a word. And, we would talk like that, but joking about PAs and lighting systems, because that just was a little thing on the road in those days. But it led to more discussions about that. And the lost chord, this is something I've talked about before, the lost chord, when it's that chord that all musicians are looking for, that music, that way to communicate that's above just talking. But singing and our voices are so important too. And that's how we connect the universe together by, if you've ever heard whales singing. Now, Jerry and I, we heard together, we were diving off of Oahu one time, and we heard whales singing to each other, these giant gray whales. And they were... Our dive master, Jeff, showed us these lava tubes, and the lava tubes are small at one end and giant at the others, and they would sing. They'd get to the small end and sing through them like a megaphone, and you could hear it for miles and miles underwater, and so we would start thinking about that, and all the sounds in nature are what we've always listened to. They're in our hearts and soul. The birds, the sound of the birds, and even things that happen from other animals. They all make noises and they do things, but they're very quiet usually. So what you're talking about is something so important to the souls of all of us, and that is that we're connected by those sounds.
Right.
And when you talk to me about that, I realize that you're a high person because you're thinking about that even. Because we're so used to getting everything pumped at us from electronics now in this generation that we don't hear everything, we don't listen, and we don't make our own sounds in a lot of ways. So in other words, when you used to be out in the world before there was electric lights everywhere, it was darker and you could hear the nighttime sounds, you know.
You see the stars, yeah.
If you're me, who was a wild kid who ran around, you looked at the stars. You wanted to see the stars. And you wanted to hear the sounds of nature around you. You also, it's a way of becoming part of it. You know, when you're taught as a kid to be out in nature, usually you're told to be quiet and listen. And amazing the stuff that you hear. The sounds of frogs and toads and every animal that there is talking to you. And you can communicate. There is no such thing as a dumb animal. They communicate. They understand us, and we understand them. If you ever look in the eyes of a dog, I almost know that they can understand our words, you know. They definitely learn to. But
Yeah.
What you're saying is so true, Rachel. It is so true. And more people have to realize that. You know, babies, as soon as they're born, they hear their mother's voice. You know, they know that voice from the womb. And look where they live. They live in salt water, man. They live in the ocean until they're born. It's just amazing how it all connects together like that. And,
Well, it's that. It is. It's like this. And
we'll just do that.
that's right. Well, thank you so much, Steve. Thank you so much. That endless, infinite light. You're right, and it's so good to connect and connect to the music, and it's real. Love is real, not fade away. So I just want to wish you a happy and healthy New Year to you, Steve. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And you know, Jerry would always say that it's a Mobius strip. It's all keeps on going and connects into everything. And that's why we would do not just New Year's in the Janus calendar of the Western world. We'd also do the Chinese New Year and Jewish New Year and what else? The Mardi Gras, which is actually another.
What about the trees New Year? Did you do anything for the trees? You know, there's a New Year for the trees, according to some.
Benefits for trees, man. We love that. We're tree huggers, man. And we love it. But we also did, you know, Kesey. He was a logger, and he knew all about logging, and we knew loggers up in Oregon that we hung out with, and most of them are great people. That's a race that's disappearing, but we can't live by cutting trees down. That's just not the way it is anymore, you know. So onward and upward in the future.
Well, thanks again, Steve. I sent you something in the mail, so I hope you get it from the whole
I'll talk
family.
to you. Okay.
Be well.
Okay, thank you.
Take it easy.
You too. Thanks for calling. Bye. Sorry that I get so carried away, my friends, but that call triggered me into a lot of different corners of my mind and thinking about what she was getting at there. It's a very deep subject, no question about it. But what I mean by that is that there was a time when all newspaper and everything was made from hemp. And then to cut trees down to make pulp is wrong. If you've ever been by a pulp mill, I don't even think they do them anymore. The chemicals they use to break the wood down of the trees and to make this paste to make newspaper is ridiculous when you can do it with hemp and it's a renewable thing. So it all got tied together with cannabis in 1937 with the Cannabis Tax Act. So who do we have next, Amy?
All right.